This conference will now be recorded.
So before moving on to step 5, does anybody remember what step 4 was from last week?
Assessing what role to play.
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa. So it was assess what role to play. Has anybody started to use the powerful questions tool, or do they figure out which role they were playing? Okay, if you haven't used any of those tools yet, that's okay. We just suggest you guys go on SharePoint under the Family Center Coaching tab and start utilizing those tools agency-wide with our families, because Liz and I need as much feedback as we can with those tools. I get the powerful questions. That was the hardest part for me to grasp with the whole Family Center Coaching thing. So as a refresher, last week we spoke about step 4, which Alyssa said, assess what role to play. We spoke about the 3 roles to play, which were case management, readiness assessment, and goal setting. We also went over the stages of change and how to recognize which stage the participant is in and which role to play as a coach. We also went over using powerful questions to evoke thoughts from your participants while keeping them in the driver's seat. So also every week that we go over is the 5 family centered coaching steps, which are step 1, prepare for the meeting. Step 2, build a relationship. Step 3, focus our work. Step 4, assess what role to play. Step 5, which is this week, and it's plan, do, review, which also puts support and accountability into play.
So as Hilary said, today we're going to be going over step 5, plan, do, review, and some of the resources that go with that. So in the previous steps, we started the process of building the relationship with our participant, getting to know their current situation, what kind of barriers they have, what kind of hopes and goals that they have for their lives and their families' lives. We started to determine their readiness assessment to move towards those goals and assessing what stage of change they're in. So when a parent is ready for goal setting in a particular area, this is when we go on to step 5 of plan, do, review. And this is where you really focus in on the setting process. And this process includes identifying a milestone or a larger goal, and then setting a smaller goal, making a plan for how to reach that goal, and then carrying out that plan step by step. So by setting smaller goals, quickly achievable, it helps to build goal setting muscle, which develops that momentum moving forward. So step 5 is when, like I said, this participant makes a specific plan, sets all those steps out and carries it out in detail. And this is when we need to view the participant with an opportunity lens and approach them from that strengths-based perspective. So really pointing out all their strengths throughout this process and celebrating those small successes that they're making towards their goals.
So as their coach, you want to help the parents focus on building their strengths and in creating compelling vision what they hope to achieve in their life. Based on your previous conversations with the parent, you will have some understandings of their strengths and their challenges. The family brings each priority area. This is when we can refer back to the Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life plays a big role in this step, and this is where you can identify 2 or 3 priority areas, and then together with the parent, separate the goals with the steps for each area. And as you can see in this example, for the Wheel of Life, the priority areas should be employment, education, and career and legal, since those are the lowest areas. So some ways to implement the Plan, Do, Review resource is by, 1, you can develop a family goal statement. So an example of a family goal statement is, I will start putting $10 of my paycheck into a savings account 2 times a month. I would like to create an emergency savings fund of $240 in a year's time. So basically, this is a SMART goal. It's a SMART goal statement, and it uses SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And another way you could use this resource is by having a participant create a goal statement themselves. And this helps them build confidence and the skills and experience, and then set goals for their priority areas on their own. So now we're going to do a little activity. We're going to take a minute for you all to create a family goal statement that you can think of for one of your active families. And remember to create a SMART goal, like I had said, make it specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And I'll give you guys about 2 minutes to create one of an active family that you have. And I'll also go over the example so you guys have something to go off of. So the example that we had are, I will start putting $10 of my paycheck into my savings account 2 times a month. I would like to create an emergency savings fund of $240 in a year's time. So that's the example we have. We just want you guys to create an example. Okay, does anybody want to share theirs before I have to pick on someone? We hate doing that. Okay, give me 1 second. Is there Cherie Pass? I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Cherie?
Sheree Paschal.
Michelle, there you go.
I don't have any families, but I have a family and they will make a goal to check in with the daycare to make sure the kids are okay at least once a week.
Okay, thanks. That's a good goal. And I can see where it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely too. So thank you for sharing your goal. Anyone else want to share theirs?
I did one based off of one of my consumers that I'm working with now. And it was, I will get my diabetes under control by monitoring my blood sugar 3 times a day, eating 3 meals and 2 snacks a day, and taking my medication as prescribed twice a day.
Yeah, that's a really good one, Tiffany. Thanks for sharing that one. That one's definitely specific and measurable. Thank you.
So we're going to dive into the different components of plan, do, review. So plan, this is obviously the planning process between the coach and the participant and their family. So this is really where the goal statement will come into play as well. So when you're in this stage, ask the participant questions like, what can you do or what will you do? So the more specific that they can be about their plan, the easier it will be to take action for them. So what role can family members play? You can encourage them to refer back to their Who's in My Family tool that they have filled out, just to kind of reference who they have listed as people that provide help to them, and who will carry out the steps. So this can also relate back to the Who's in My Family tool, which parent or family member can help them with different steps to reach their goal. So maybe parents or friends can help with small steps such as childcare or transportation. That'll really help them achieve their goals. When will it be done? Set timelines for each other, for the coach and the participant, including small goals and an overall goal date. And then where will it be done? Think of places such as home or different agencies that might be able to help them achieve their goals. So now we want you to refer back to that family goal statement that you made previously for one of your families, and just think about some powerful questions that you could ask your participant regarding their family goal statement. So like Tiffany's was to get the blood pressure under check, or the diabetes under check, and then Cherie's was checking in with the daycare. So what kind of powerful questions can you ask them as far as their goal statement and how they can achieve it? So we're going to give you a couple minutes to think about that, and then we'll ask someone to share. So does anybody have any powerful questions that you could ask your participant regarding their family goal statement and helping them achieve their goals?
So I always ask my families like what their weaknesses are regarding a goal so that we can like they can have some awareness and then we can move forward past those. So like if the goal is saving money, like what are some areas where you struggle with spending too much money, or have them brainstorm where their weaknesses are.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, that's a really good one. Just bringing to light what kind of barriers they could face and how they could overcome those. Thank you, that was perfect. Some of the other ones we had were what opportunities exist, which is pretty broad, but it kind of gets their mind wandering on what opportunities are available to them and what opportunities can they make available to them. So what steps can you do now and what steps come next? This is a question that really puts them in the driver's seat, making those decisions as far as what steps they need to take to achieve their goals. And then similar to Kate's, what obstacles might come in the way and how could you overcome those? So the next stage is do, and this is where the family carries out the steps outlined in the plan that you created. So in this stage, remember to really be their champion and celebrate those small successes as well as the big successes. Work with them to create the short-term goals, and that would be about a week or two, so they can work towards those long-term goals, making those smaller steps help them feel achieved and accomplished and might keep them on a forward momentum towards their goals.
So the next part is review. Together in this coaching session, you want to discuss the successes and maybe the unexpected outcomes that might have led to discouragement. So some of the questions that you could ask them could be like, how did it go? Did things happen according to plan? Does any part of this plan resort back to case management? And I just want to let you guys know that if your original plan doesn't go as planned, reassure the participant that this is pretty typical and it's just a part of the process, and you guys can just reassess and start fresh if needed. Another question you guys could ask would be, how did this plan affect the family? Were there any steps missed? Did things happen on time? Were the plans too short or too long? I just want you guys to also be aware that you want to make the time frames realistic for the participants, not necessarily you guys as the coach, because sometimes it might take them longer to achieve a step than you. If the plan was achieved, as a coach, you need to make sure to celebrate with them, but to continue with the plan. The plan do review stage is huge on celebrating the accomplishments because it's huge on building the confidence of our participants. And what better way to spread confidence than to compliment them. And then if the plan is not achieved, you just need to ask what needs changed and what family supports might be needed. And as a coach, you just need to ask yourselves, is there additional resources that they need for support? So as we have said, this step is where the participant family identifies goals, that will support the whole family. Your role as a coach will be to assist them in the planning process and then to create smaller steps to make this goal easier to achieve. Little steps should have a timeline of being in 2 weeks or less, like Liz had said. And as a participant achieves each little step, it should be celebrated. Sorry. Also keep in mind that you should be supportive of their goal because it is what's best for their family, and it's not your goal for their family. So with this tool that we're about to show you, it allows you to refer back to the content areas in the Wheel of Life to make sure that their goal realigns with those priority areas that you picked.
I'm going to bring up the fillable version of the Plan Do Review tool that we had sent to you guys. And we'll just go over. So this is this tool just helps to refine their goals and make concrete plans to achieve them. So you just want to think about that family goal statement and kind of break that down into smaller steps for them. So the major milestone, what are you trying to improve and how will it benefit your family? So this will basically be your family goal statement here. And then what is the first goal under this milestone? So what's the first step that needs to be taken? And then creating those small steps towards your goal. So laying out step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. It doesn't always have to be 4 steps. It could be 1 or 2 steps, whatever is appropriate for their goal. And then this just breaks it down over the questions that we had went over before. So you guys have this. It's also on SharePoint. So we want you to think about that family goal statement that you had made for one of your families and kind of break that bigger goal down into smaller steps using this tool. So just take a couple minutes and think about that family goal statement and break it down into smaller steps. And then we're going to ask someone to share. So we'll give you a couple minutes now to do that.
I just wanted to share my insight with using this tool with my participants previously. I just want to let you guys know that I noticed that that it let the participants stay in the driver's seat, and they realized that their priorities were not always immediate and had decided to change their priority to focus on something that they actually could take action on and what was more attainable. So I just think this is a great assessment for the participant to realize what's important and not us as the coaches.
So does anybody want to share what their family goal statement was and then what steps you broke it down into?
So all of our families, their main goal was that the child will not miss school, an unexcused day of school for 30 days. So we typically break it down into establishing a good nighttime routine, establishing a morning routine, knowing how to turn in parent excuses or medical excuses if they have to, and then setting up a reward system or consequences for their attendance.
Yeah, thank you, Leah. Yeah, that's really good. As it touches on all those different aspects. Thank you for sharing. Did anybody else want to share before we move on? Okay, so I'm going to get back into the PowerPoint. Oh, it took me to the beginning. That's where we were. Okay, so with planning for support and accountability, it's really a way to keep the coach and the participant accountable for their roles in the coaching relationship. So accountability keeps the participant on track with their plan and also gives structure to the coaching sessions. So remember that accountability is not about judging or blaming the participant if they maybe don't complete a task at a set date. As Hilary stated before, maybe they just weren't comfortable with that certain date, and maybe it needs adjusted. But this is really just an opportunity to explore what went wrong and how you can adjust that plan moving forward. So maybe they need more support than we originally thought, or maybe they need to create a different step overall to achieve the task. And the step might even need to be broken down into more steps. So this opportunity can help you as a coach find out what the participant, what worked for them and what didn't work and what needs adjusted. So as a coach, you also need to hold yourself accountable in the coaching relationship. And to do that, you need to respond in a timely manner to phone calls, texts, emails, whatever method of communication you two have decided on. Provide resources and information requested by the participant. Provide a safe and welcoming space for each meeting. We went over this in step 1 of prepare for the meeting. Participate in discussion on how the relationship is going and if there needs to be any adjustments made, and ensure they know who to contact in case of a crisis situation. Hilary, you're on mute.
Sorry. So an example a participant can show accountability is by them deciding to give you an update at the next coaching session, where others can give you updates on accomplishing a task through email, text, or a phone call. A good question to ask the participants on how to show accountability is, how will I know when this task has been accomplished or completed? By planning for support, you're looking at possible backdoors opening with you knowing. So for example, they get a job that they want, but for childcare, it's shut down for the day. And now they can't report to work, and they're looking at possible job loss. So that's why you need to talk about support and plan for it, because sometimes those things do happen in these uncertain times. You and the participant need to look for a backup babysitter just in case the situation were to happen. So with accountability, you just need to help the participants to have a structured plan for what they are committing to. And as a coach, you also need to be accountable by responding to them in a timely manner and providing resources when needed and participate in discussion like Liz had mentioned. So during the review process, it'll involve a lot of brainstorming to generate ideas, and you need to make sure that you need to let them know that there are no bad ideas with brainstorming, and it's also important to leave judgment aside. So a good tool to use for brainstorming with participants is the other tool that we had sent you, and it's real small on the screen here, but Liz will pull it up. This tool can be used to guide during the session, and it promotes the purpose of brainstorming session. It promotes guidelines, how to start, tips when participants get stuck, and what to do after the brainstorming session has happened. So Liz is going to pull it up, and we're going to just go over it real quick.
So the purpose of brainstorming, we're going to go over each of these bullets, but brainstorming can be an effective way for your families to generate ideas, but be aware that some participants may not be too open or comfortable in this type of situation, being put on the spot. So it's okay if they take it home and complete it as well. So just be aware of that. But the purpose of brainstorming, to open the parents' creative energy, produce as many ideas as possible without evaluating them in detail, generate a lot of ideas in a short period of time. So some of the guidelines that go with this to remember: all ideas are okay, there are no bad ideas. Defer evaluating ideas or expressing judgment during this session. Include other family members if possible. and parent and family members can build upon each other's ideas. So like I said, if maybe they're not comfortable producing these ideas on the spot, they can take it home, and that could be a way for the family to be involved as well, and they can build on each other's ideas at home. Things to say to start the brainstorming process. You could say, we're going to get all of the ideas out without evaluating them, or you can say something like, let's come up with 15 ideas in the next 10 minutes. So things to use when a participant gets stuck. Assess what is behind the silence. So sometimes participants can get silent during a brainstorming session because they need room to think. Maybe they're on the verge of a great idea, but if the silence goes on too long, you can suggest an idea to get the conversation going in a new direction, and it could get them excited and talking again. So some of the tips to use with that, suggest the opposite of what you want to achieve. So maybe have them describe what their goal is, or you can have them describe the opposite of what you want to have happen. So this could shift the energy and shift the discussion by asking, how do we achieve the opposite of this goal? And that may be a way to bring up new creative ideas. And encourage big ideas. Don't limit them. Encourage them to think big and eliminate any constraints on their ideas. So tell them to imagine that there are no limits on time, money, or other resources. And this could be a way to remove roadblocks in their mind that may open up a new direction of ideas. You could ask, what would be an unexpected idea, a bold idea, or something you've never tried before?
Okay, so after the brainstorming session, let's just think you just had the brainstorming session. You guys have a ton of ideas to go through. You want to review the ideas and narrow it down to which one the parent wants to focus on and let them make the decision. And if they are excited about an idea, you should run with it. And excitement and passion will be the driving force behind their change, especially if they're the ones that came up with the idea. And if that session didn't generate as many ideas as you wanted it to, I would just suggest to have another one. And as we had previously said, have them come up with some ideas before the next meeting and let them think on it just a little bit longer. So as Liz is pulling up the PowerPoint again, we're just going to go over the remainder of the core coaching tools to use moving forward. And the first one is powerful questions. So we went over this one last week, and as we've said, these are the open-ended questions that truly provoke the participants' thoughts. So for a question to truly be powerful, you have to ask it from a place where you don't presume to know the answer. So an example of a closed-ended question would sound like, will you arrive on time? To shift that into a powerful question, you could say, what will help you get there on time? So we plan on putting a list of powerful questions on SharePoint that you guys can relate back to each section of the Wheel of Life, and that way you guys can use it and it can be handy for you. So the next one we have talked briefly on, and that was also asking permission. So it just means asking permission to share a skill, a tool, a resource, an idea, anything that comes from you as a coach. And when you ask permission, it lets the participants know that they are the ones in the driver's seat and making the decisions. And this can really create confidence in them. The last stage of family-centered coaching, the Plan, Do, Review tool, is huge on building confidence for the participant because that's what drives them.
All right, so the next one we went over previously as well, reflective listening. So this goes back to the building the relationship stage, step 2, and reflecting back on what the participants are saying or what they have said to you maybe in a previous coaching session. So you don't always reflect back word for word, but rather summarize what they have said, their own words and ideas. So remember to use phrases such as, so what I think you're saying is blank, and ask if you got right what you thought that they were saying as well. So this is one we haven't yet went over. So it's holding the focus. Participants can easily get off track when we meet with them. We can all get distracted, it's natural. Maybe they're nervous about coaching or generating ideas, or maybe you guys have a tight relationship and maybe they want to just talk or entertain you. Of course, chatting is normal. That's how you build a relationship, so there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's going down a rabbit hole, try to direct them back to their goal and vision first to discuss that during the coaching session, and then maybe talk afterwards. So like we've said before, set an agenda for the session so you can use that as a reference throughout the session. And if you have a good relationship established with them already, you can also just politely bring them back by telling them that they are off track.
So the next tool is clearing. So sometimes a parent can come into a session upset or worried, and in that case, it might be too hard to coach them. So clearing is giving them a few minutes to vent about what is upsetting to them so you can resume the coaching session after. So when they are venting, you need to actively listen to what they are saying, but try not to comment on their story. This can offer a shift in perspective for them. So for example, a participant may have had a fight with their boyfriend or girlfriend. Someone's boss might have just disciplined them. Maybe they had a custody court order and it didn't go as planned. So as a coach, you need to say something like, you really seem upset about that fight you just had with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Would it help if you vented for 3 minutes and then we could get to the coaching session after? So the final one is acknowledgement. When you acknowledge the participant as a person, it helps connect them with their values and their strengths. So here's an important difference to notice. You acknowledge who a participant is and you celebrate what a participant does. So try to acknowledge who the participant is at least once per session, and you just need to keep it simple and specific. So vague acknowledgement is not very powerful. So Liz and I created a couple steps for some examples of ways to use that acknowledgement. So John, I appreciate how honest you are with yourself. That's a real strength. Helen, what I know about you is that you are very courageous. Lisa, I see you value and take care of your family. So those are just a couple of things that examples of showing acknowledgement.
All right, guys, that's our presentation for today. Does anybody have any questions about what we went over? No. So this is our last of the 6 sessions. So we hope you guys enjoyed them. We do encourage you to go to SharePoint to rewatch the training lessons if you have any questions, but you can always reach out to Hilary or I as well. We do also encourage you to start using the tools and resources that we've went over with you these past 6 weeks. And anytime you do, just shoot us an email or a Teams message to just let us know how it went. We really want that feedback from you. We also wanted to let you guys know that in the next coming weeks, we don't have any set date for it yet, but we will have some other trainings about some important aspects that go with family-centered coaching, and those are trauma-informed care, LGBTQA+, and cultural awareness. So we, like I said, we'll have more information for you in the coming weeks about that. So we also wanted to let you know that Friday we will be sending out a survey to complete regarding the family center coaching trainings that you guys went through with us. It's a quick, like 5-question survey, so we really want you to complete that so we can get some feedback on how these went, how we did, what could have gone better, any kind of feedback you are willing to give us. So we just want to thank you guys for participating and sitting through these with us. So have a good day.